Greetings and welcome. This is the ThaBadbrey Herbalist Asar, and today I am the ThaBadbrey Astrologer. And today I'm going to bring to you the astrological weather report for London and surrounding counties. Okay, now this is a branch of astrology called Astrometeorology, which deals with weather prediction, weather delineation, and weather analysis to find out the conditions of the weather, the actual weather itself. Okay, now if you're not familiar with this, I'm just going to give you a brief outline. Now, the approach I'm using for astrometeorology is using a lunation chart. If you're not aware, the moon changes phase every 7 days or so. And every time she changes phase and goes into a new phase, the weather actually changes as a result of that. So this chart, as you can see here, is a lunation chart for the full moon, which took place in the early hours of this morning at 0:32 hours during the hour of Jupiter in the early hours of Saturday, the 11th of February 2017. So today is the day of Saturn, okay? Known as Saturday by most people. All right, so let's look at what's happening. First of all, I'll give you an overview of what the weather is going to be like for the next 7 days. Now, looking at the angles, as we can see, we look at the angles, we look at the first house, the 10th house, the 7th house, and the 4th house. Those are the angles, and the signs of those angles denote what the weather is going to be like for the next 7 days or so. As you can see on the first house, we have Scorpio, which is a moist sign. Then we have on the 10th house, we have Leo. But due to the fact that the ruler of Leo is in Aquarius, in his detriment, the sun, who is a ruler of Leo, who's in his detriment, has very little power to act. Therefore, there's not going to be any heat coming from Leo whatsoever. It's going to be extremely cold. Okay? And also, due to the fact that the 10th house over here is just about to change and go into Virgo, which is a cold, dry sign, the coldness from Virgo combining with the moistness of Scorpio just gives us very cold and moist conditions already. Now let's go over to the 7th house. The 7th house over here, the cusp of the 7th house, this line is the cusp, yes, is right on Taurus, another cold and dry sign. And due to the fact that it's actually Taurus, and the ruler of Taurus, being Venus, is right over here in Aries. Now, when Venus is in Aries, she's in the sign of her detriment. She has very little power to act. And in astrometeorology, Venus usually causes the weather to be extremely pleasant. But due to the fact that she is in Aries in her detriment, she has very little power to act. Okay? And also, due to her rising after the sun, being occidental, which is rising after the sun, she is very moist in her temperament. So therefore, she is bringing more moisture into the whole picture. So the 7th house being in Taurus increases the moisture ever more. Okay, adding to the coldness up here from the 10th house, and adding to even more cold and moisture over here from Scorpio. So already we can see that in the sky it's going to be extremely cold and moist for most of this week. Okay, now also if we go over down here into the 4th house, the cusp of the 4th house down here is on Aquarius. Okay, now Aquarius is an air sign. Okay, but due to the fact that this time of the year we can see the sun, which is in Aquarius, which is in the sign of his detriment, he has very little power to act. Therefore, the coldness and the moistness is going to combine with the air itself, and there's going to be an extremely cold, biting wind that's going to ensue for most of this week. As we can see here, Mercury is also in Aquarius. Mercury denotes wind in astrometeorology. Therefore, the wind and breeze that's going to be blowing is going to be extremely cold. Now, the other thing we look at in astrometeorology to get an idea of what the weather is going to be like for the next 7 days based upon the lunation chart, the full moon lunation chart in this instance, is the part of fortune. The part of fortune is over here. The part of fortune is not a planet. It is an Arabic part. Yes? And this part of fortune is right over here in Taurus, denoting more coldness and more moisture. All right? And a part of fortune is also in 11 degrees Taurus. 11 degrees is the term of Mercury. Using essential dignities, this is the term of Mercury. And based upon my own observation using astrometeorology, I have realized that the terms of the signs have more of an effect upon the way the weather manifests than any other essential dignity. So the part of fortune, the object of desire, which is in Taurus at 11 degrees in the term of Mercury, denotes that there's going to be a cold, biting wind that's going to ensue for the majority of this week. Okay, so it's going to be very cold, it's going to be very moist. Now, let's look at the weather for today, which is the day of Saturn-Day. Okay, so let's see what the weather's going to be like for today. And to look at how the weather's going to play out today, we look at the position of the moon and the aspects she's casting to other planets in the chart itself. Now, as we can see, the moon is right up here in Leo. Okay, she's right up here in Leo. And as we pointed out earlier, the ruler of Leo is the sun, and the sun is down here in Aquarius having very little power to act. Therefore, this opposition that the moon is making to the sun is going to cause extreme cold temperatures. The temperature is going to be driven all the way down as a result of her pulling in all of the moisture with her to the top of where she is in the chart and making this opposition to the sun. It's going to be extremely cold. That's all you're going to see. At this time of the year, when the sun is in Aquarius, it's extremely cold. And him being corporally joined to Mercury is bringing in an extremely cold wind. The other thing that's taking place is she's separating from a trine with Uranus. Uranus denotes and usually causes extreme weather to manifest. And I mean extreme weather. And in this case, because it's extremely cold as a result of where the sun is and the moon moving away from a trine to Uranus, this extreme weather will very, very likely manifest as snow or sleet or some type of ice dropping from the sky. Now, this explains why if you were in London yesterday, you saw that there was ice falling from the sky in the form of like snow or sleet of some kind as a result of this extreme weather condition being caused by Uranus have an effect upon where the moon actually was, and her bringing in all of this cold air and combining with this extremeness to cause this snow, sleet, ice to fall from the sky. The other thing that is actually taking place is that the moon is also making a sextile to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter, being in Libra, usually, from what I've seen, creates loads of cloudy conditions. In this instance, lots of white clouds. So this line over here, this sextile, all of these white clouds are being drawn in by the moon because her gravitational pull and all of the air she's actually pulling towards her is pulling all of these white clouds up into the sky. So you probably see a lot of overcast today of white clouds. Not going to be dark clouds. It's just going to be very, very white clouds as a result of this aspect that's being cast here. And then the astral temperature is going to be driven all the way down as a result of this opposition she's making to the sun, and then you'll have extreme weather conditions as a result of this Uranus trine that she's separating from. So what we'll see is loads of overcast white clouds, and very, very likely we're going to see snow and sleet falling. Okay, the other thing that's taking place with the moon is she's making a trine with Saturn. And Saturn in this instance, due to the fact that he's rising, he's oriental, and he is like actually before the sun, he's very cold and very moist. So the temperament of Saturn is cold and moist. Therefore, the trine that Saturn, a cold and moist planet, makes with the moon, who is also cold and very moist at this time of the year, what we have is extremely cold and moist conditions. And then this sextile with Jupiter, between Jupiter and the moon, is causing these white clouds to be drawn in. And then over here, this trine between Uranus and the moon is causing extreme weather to manifest and extremely low temperatures. So you'll see extremely cold temperatures. Very likely going to see snow and sleet falling from the sky as a result. All the white clouds are going to be very cold. So I advise anyone in London who's in London today to wrap up very warm, because very likely you're just going to see a lot of snowfall. Well, you're going to see a lot of ice falling, and it's going to be extremely cold. And that's what's going to take place today in London. A biting cold. And that is the ThaBadbrey Herbalist Asar, Ancient Astrologer. That's your astrological weather report. I gave you an overview for this week, as well as how the weather's likely to play out. There you go.